like to introduce Deepa Bhaskaran, and I will tell you about her. She is an activist, a volunteer, and a community organizer. She has an MBA from the Kellogg School of Management and is a serious student of Hindu Dharma. So, Deepa wants to talk to us and tell us about the Gyan Parampara of Vedic Shastric Indic India. We are all agog. Come, please tell us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sumedha ji, and thank you to the entire Indic Academy team. It's really a pleasure to be with these wonderful women and talk on this very important topic. So I really appreciate it. Let me first start with a story that many of us are familiar with. King Janaka, himself a Raja Rishi, he organizes this big assembly and he invites a lot of, scholars to discuss philosophical matters, right? Many sages and scholars come there, and the great Rishi Yajnavalkya walks in, and he wants to be tested. He wants people to question him and ask him questions. And then you see a series of, scholars asking him questions about, Brahma Vidya and, about the nature of the self and so on. So you see when you read the original Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you see that the great, scholars like Uddalaka first ask him and Yajnavalkya answers. And then somebody else asks him, he answers. And then it mentions that somebody called Gargi Vachaknavi asked him a few questions to which he answers again. And then Gargi says that Yajnavalkya is a great scholar. Now, all of us are familiar with the story, of course, but what struck me when I read the original, episode in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad was that there is no word or tone that indicates any kind of surprise that a woman is in these court asking questions. She's treated very matter-of-factly. Uddalaka asked Yajnavalkya, then Gargi asked Yajnavalkya, then Vidagdha asked Yajnavalkya. So my point is, whenever today in modern terms, we see the news, right? There's always a mention of the first woman pilot or the first woman commander-in-chief, or the first woman president, obviously, which is still not happening, at least in the US. But there is no tone of surprise. There is no tone of any element of surprise or wonderment that a woman finally made it to Janaka's court. Now, what that makes me think is that while Gargi may have been special, while she may have gotten to Janaka's court, there may have been other countless women in smaller settings. I mean, that's why there was no surprise that she was in Janaka's court. It is my hypothesis, but I think there might be some truth to it. Women have been very active participants in the Jnana Parampara. Obviously, we believe that Sanatana Dharma is a Jnana Parampara, and the women have had strong roles as seekers, writers, mystics, and gurus often. And Sanatana Dharma has offered a very expansive canvas for women, along with, of course, everybody, to progress on the path of Jnana Marga, either as ascetics or as householders. Now, before going there, all of us do know that Sanatana Dharma's purpose is really to allow each individual to achieve all the four Purusharthas, right? The Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha in a balanced manner. So it's not very one-sided on one of these Purusharthas. While initially Artha, Kama dominate as we are younger, as an individual evolves, the Hindu society's goal is to instill the desire and create an environment to pursue it. So from that standpoint, when you look at all the practices that we perform, whether it's great study of the Shastras or putting a simple Rangoli in front of our homes, there is always, it's all meant to develop us to achieve those four Purusharthas. Now, there's a lot of comments about, are there constraints for women? Yes, of course, but there were constraints for men too, because in this dharmic framework, everybody had to work within the constraint in order to create a well-functioning society, somewhat like a traffic police today puts constraints on our driving so that all of us can drive safely and fast to our destinations. So from that standpoint, there are some universal values that were followed, right? Following the dharma to maintain the cosmic order of the rhythm, which means women had to follow her Sri Dharma, like smooth functioning of the family, bringing up children that were healthy and were able to contribute to the next generation. And the Gita Vakya here makes a lot of sense. Swadharmo nidhanam shreyaha. You perform your duty, then it leads to shreyas for not just you, but your family and the community. But if you don't, it leads to bhaya. a troubled heart because you've not done your duty, a troubled family, and a troubled society. And secondly, the important thing was also that Grihastha Dharma was important in the sense that it was a foundation for the other dharmas. There was this Grihastham Ashritya Vartante Sarva Ashramaha. So every other ashrama was based on that. We all know about many older versions of before the Manu Dharma Shastra, the Harita Dharma Shastra, Smriti Chandrika. They mentioned the Brahmavadinis who were allowed to get their Upanayanam and pursue Shastric education. And they even went through, they were able to, do the fire yajnas and homas. And then there are other women who, we know from Ramayana that Sita was, Hanumanji actually waits in the Ashokavana for Sita. And he says this thing, she will Dhruvam Aishyati of Janaki. He says she will definitely come to the river to do the Sandhya Vandana. So there are those examples of women who, following dharma and achieving moksha was a very important part of their lives. Also, when you look at, I mean, I can just name drop, but I'm sure you've heard now, starting from Gargi, Maitreyi, Lopamudra in the Vedic age, to people like Madalasa and Chudala in the Puranic age, and then we see a lot of women, Laleshwari in Kashmir, of course, Mirabai, who everybody knows. There's Karakal Ammayar, Andal, Avayar from Tamil Nadu, Akka Mahadevi from the, from Veerashaiva community in Karnataka, Anandamayi Ma. Then there are all those, the modern, of course, the mother from Aurobindo Ashram, Mata Amritanandamayi. And now we have, many, many, many women Swaminijis who are, part of this parampara and contributing. In the Puranic period, I just want to highlight a couple. Rani Madalasa, of course, all of us know, she used to sing lullabies of, the Upanishads basically to her children. Women's contribution in kind of temple building also is, has been very prominent. Sembian Madevi is one example. I want to highlight her because not many people may know about her. She was the wife of Chola king. And she's credited with rebuilding many brick temples into stone temples. I mean, if she had not done that, we wouldn't have these kind of, massive temples that we see when we drive through southern India. And she was not a nominal donor. She actually influenced their design. And similarly, Rani Ahilbai Holkar, all of us know her, of course. I have no idea how she managed to renovate and contribute to temples all the way down from Rameshwaram to Puri to Ayodhya to Sri Sailam in Andhra Pradesh. So enormous amount of contribution with which continues today. A lot of poetry that has come out of the Bhakti saints of South India, Kamahadevi, and so on. So I think with the emergence of modern ashrams, modern technology, we see more and more women commit to this Jnana Parampara, being able to see people even like me who had no introduction, being able to do that, and a lot of Swaminiji is contributing to this tradition across yoga, Vedanta, Tantra, and I really look forward to this, continuation. I feel very positive when I see that the interest that we have in our Jnana Parampara contributed by both men and women, taking it forward to the next generations. I will stop here, and I hope to hear from others and look forward to the panel as well.